again, folks. Red with you. It's Resonant Rise. You may notice things look a little different. Turns out we had ourselves a bit of a world-ending bug on the last map. Unfortunately, myself and the admin Yoda, we did everything we could to try and save the world, but it just wasn't going to happen. It got in a cycle where it was loading, crashing, loading, crashing, loading, crashing. It was finished. So unfortunately, we had to drop that world, and we've started anew. The good news is we're on 2.5, the official release candidate. It is now out, and we are using it. So I'm going to get you guys caught up as to what I've been doing and give you guys the grand tour of, well, the little bit that I've done so far. Mostly I've been going about collecting resources and whatnot, getting things together so that we can really start working on stuff. Um, and there's a reason for all this glass, by the way. You'll find out why momentarily. I was going to do a castle in the sky routine. Here, I'll take you up and show you where we were. We were going to do a castle in the sky routine. It seemed fun. Like I was like, we'll do a castle in the sky, and I just ended up going with a different idea. Uh, that should give you a clue. No, it's not Mortal Kombat. It is a scuba helmet. We'll be seeing the fruits of those labors here momentarily. I was going to kind of give you guys just a quick little sail around so that you get an idea of where I'm living at right now. That was the castle we built up. Originally, I was going to do the airborne castle thing, except for open block elevators only go 20 blocks in height, and so I had to make like a couple of elevators. There's one at the very base of this. I don't know. It just didn't feel right. It just didn't. So we scrapped it and we went with something else. I've got my incredibly overfull cow station, as usual. Basically, what I'm doing is I just keep feeding them, and anything that squeezes out of the pen is what I eat. And I mean, I've got a little teeny farm set up down there, but the majority of my time has been spent getting resources together and kind of getting things up and running. So, without further ado, let's take you to what we've decided to do for our base. Do-do-do-do. I thought underwater dome. Why not? It'd be kind of fun, right? So I cranked out a whole bunch of glass. We put together a dome. There she is. There's our underwater dome. I'm planning on moving everything down here. We're going to set up everything, and the way, if you look at our map here, this is what our map looks like. We want it set to daytime. You silly. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. The point is, you can kind of see what we've got going on here. We are right here in our good friend, the middle of the water. Now, out here is a lot of very deep water. What we're going to do is build ourselves a pathway and then establish a main base out this way. I'm going to use this base, this little area right here, as the airlock and staging area. And we're going to go ahead and put a corridor heading off this star direction, probably, right through that gap. We're going to put a corridor heading off that way, and we're going to build ourselves a gigantic dome that we're going to live in at the bottom of the sea. That is the plan for our trip through this version of the map. You can kind of see. I mean, it's not. Don't get me wrong. That's a pretty good little dome to get started on. I'm planning on moving all my machines down there and getting everything set up, which shouldn't be too terribly hard to do. We should be able to do that fairly efficiently, fairly easily. Speaking of which, I did want to show you. I know that this is probably old hat to a lot of you, but I just recently started playing with these guys. These reinforced strong boxes. Okay, strong box. There it is. The way that you get the strong. By the way, I was made OP of the server. No, I'm not cheating. It's just that's why you see all the extra stuff. Reinforced strong boxes. These things are absolutely amazing. You get them. Long and short, the original chest, the old vanilla chest, and you surround it with tin, and it gives you a strong box. And then from there, you can go ahead and you can make a machinist workbench, or you can keep upgrading it. Use Invar, which, as we all remember, is, I believe, iron and ferrous. You go ahead and you put that together and it gets you Invar, and that gives you a strong box. Or that plus the strong box will give you the hardened strong box, which then can be used surrounded by hardened glass, which again is lead and obsidian. Puts together for the reinforced strong box. There is a version on top of this, which is enderium ingots, which frankly I don't even know how you make these things. I mean, I think you need, yeah, okay. So you need to make the blend, which is tin, pure platinum, resonant ender, whatever. I'm done with that. That seemed like a lot of effort, so I'm not doing that. But the good news is, once they get to this stage, I mean, they're a pretty good sized chest once they get there. You can set them for public access, restricted access, or you only access. Obviously, that's pretty slick. Um, you pick them up using the crescent hammer. Now, here's something else, because this is really cool. All right, you see we got all this junk in. Here's my random chest, okay? Pick it up. Now, not only can you actually look at it in inventory, you do that by holding down the shift key and it tells you everything that's in there. Well, that's pretty neat, right? So we can actually take that, put it down anywhere else in the world, open it back up, and everything is still there. You can move your inventory. That's right. You can move your entire inventory in these chests. There's a reason you don't see any regular chests around. I'm planning on taking all of my where I have a couple of extras. There we go. What I'm planning on doing is basically loading all of these machines up into these chests and just simply walking them down to the ocean and setting everything back up. Before I do that, though, I'll kind of walk you through just a few of the other little things. I dabbled in mariculture. Mariculture? I don't know. Um, just to kind of see what it was like. It's a very simplistic way to get aluminum early game rather than finding it, because I didn't seem to find any in my mine shaft that I built earlier. This actually aluminum. Started been hanging around the I've been hanging around the Brits too much. Aluminium. That's right. We're going to call you aluminium today. Ugh, it's aluminum. Aluminum. Anyway, that was a tangent we didn't need to go on. The point being is that you can actually create this stuff. Okay, you see how it's got it listed as Tinker's Construct, but it's also got a melting point. Okay, what you can do is take bauxite, which I've got some somewhere here. Somewhere. Here's bauxite. Okay, bauxite is mariculture ore, and you'll find it all over the place. Okay, you take bauxite and you dump it up top. You know what? I'm not going to do it because well, I'll tell you in a sec. You take bauxite and you dump it in here. You'll see right there, it's got a melting point on it. Okay, 660 degrees centigrade. What you do is you throw coal in here and it'll light up this heat bar, and when it gets to 660, it starts slowly melting the stuff and it dumps it into the tank here. There's a chance you get a secondary item from it. Smelting this stuff gives you a shot at clay. It's not very common, but it does happen, say probably 5 to 10% of the time. The problem with this is that this is a laughably slow, and I cannot stress that enough, laughably slow way to go about doing things. It quite literally took me hours to smelt up a half a stack. It was well over 2 hours and two full stacks of coal. The return on investment just isn't there. It's not worth doing. Now, this can be tweaked if you take it to the nether and you surround it in flames, dunk it in lava. It will cook faster. I did not try that, and I probably will at some point before I completely write this off. But for now, if you're just using it in the real world, it's a complete and utter waste of time. The other problem is, now this is cool, but it's also difficult, is that if you've got a freezer paired up right next to a smelter, it'll immediately pull the molten out of there, dump it into the tank, and start freezing it to turn it into whatever you need it to be. In our case, it was aluminum. Well, that's good, except for the smelter needs a ton of heat to work properly, and the freezer needs a ton of cool to work properly. I grabbed a couple of snow blocks, and that was the only way I could get this thing to work, and it works pretty slowly. So again, if you could surround this thing with ice and maybe do it in a tundra environment, okay, it might not be terrible. But then again, I don't know how you're going to get it transporting the liquid in between this guy to this guy now, because you're not going to put them side by side. There's some logistical headaches that go along with it. So it is an early way to get aluminum. It's just a royal pain in the butt to do so. Again, I'm not completely writing it off. but it's gonna be something I don't mess with again for a while. Anyway, okay, so that's kind of where that was with it. We'd set up our standard induction smelter, which I needed for the hardened glass. Again, you've got the obsidian and the lead, and that made the hardened glass, so we could make the reinforced strong boxes. Pulverizer, redstone furnace, standard, same old, same old. By the way, I started getting experience for cooking in the redstone furnace, which I don't remember getting before. Doesn't matter. Um, a little lag there. Compressors. I've been compressing air cells so that we could build our base underwater. Um, so that's something we had been doing. Speaking of which, we'll go ahead and take those out of there. And I've been using the universal cable is great. I've been setting up these hardened energy cells, which these are the thermal expansion batteries. All right, the big old storage batteries. If you haven't used these in the Resonant Rise mod pack or 1.6.4, basically, if you haven't used the most updated version of thermal expansion, these are going to operate a little differently from what you're used to. It used to be you'd put them on there and you'd tweak the pipes themselves to say pull in, pull out, da 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 da. Now, actually, the way that it works is a little differently. You can get on, you can see kind of looking at it, it's got a blue side and it's got an orange side, or it actually, you can give it a blank side like that. Okay, so now you got blue, you got orange. Where's orange? There's orange. Okay, so you got blue, orange, and gray. You can see all of them there. Orange is output, meaning it's going to flow out. Blue is input, stuff's coming in, and gray is neutral. Nothing happens. No in, no out, no nothing. You can set how much this thing will pump in and out, and it's actually it moves in increments of 50. So you can go 350, 300, blah blah blah, all the way up to 4 bills. 4 bills is your top end. Okay. uh, the hardened energy conduits are the upgraded versions. If you actually start with, I believe it's leadstone. It sure is. Okay. The recipe for leadstone's fairly easy. It's glass surrounded by lead, surrounded by redstone, and it gives you leadstone energy conduits. It will only allow you to do 80 redstone flux per tick, RF per tick. The upgraded version, these guys, the hardened energy conduits, are 400 RF a tick. So obviously it's a huge difference. But to get the hardened, again, you need Invar. So it's the now. This is, by the way, this is really cool that thermal expansion uses the base cable to upgrade to the high end cable. That's awesome because now it doesn't mean that you've got a bunch of stuff sitting around wasted like you did old IC2, old industrial craft 2. You might start by wiring up with copper because you had it, but as soon as you could do glass fiber, you'd do it, and then your copper was completely wasted, or gold, or whatever the heck you were using. It didn't transfer up. This stuff does, and that is really slick. And I like that it's got a one setup if you want to use nuggets, you don't have a whole lot, or it's got a three setup if you want to just go ahead and hammer things out there. If you want mass, go mass. So that's pretty cool. I like that about the way that TE has done their crafting this trip through. So anyway, so that's kind of what we're going to be moving. I've been using steam dynamos, which seem to work pretty well. Again, this is a heavy thermal expansion setup. There's an aqueous accumulator down there that you can't really see. I mean, you know it's there because there's water on both sides. Um, I've been using these dynamos just as ancillary power, just to get things up and moving. Now that we've finally got our base built, we're gonna go. We're gonna do some serious work with that. So we're going to go ahead and move everything down that way. And I realize it'd been a little bit since we got an episode out, and that's because, well, we'd restarted, and so it was mainly the boring stuff, the building up of resources, so on and so forth. And I didn't want to bore you guys with that stuff. We will be doing more episodes shortly, though. With the holidays coming up, if you're watching this in the future, the day today is the 19th of December. So look at that. That's so cool. I love that. I love my little dome. Anyway, we will be doing more. I can promise you that. It might be a little sketchy just because of the holidays. I'm going to still try and keep my 2 episodes a week coming out to you guys. I'm just not going to make any promises right off the bat. So anyway, the point is, I wanted to get something out, kind of show you where we are, what we've been doing, and kind of the direction that we're going to be going. You can see out that way. This is we're going to dig our little tunnel out that way. We might have to drop that gap down a little bit and let more water through there so it actually flows a little bit better. I don't know. We'll see. But the reason, well, here, actually, I'll show you. By the way, the glider is still my favorite flipping thing in the world. I love it. You can kind of see out here, there's a couple of these real big basins, and we built in one of them. This is all natural. I didn't dig these out. This is just what it is. It's these huge basins. There's another one right over next to us, too. It's very cool. Anyway, but out this way, I'm going to drop us down in there so you can see it. This is kind of the teaser as to what's coming next. It's these huge kelp forests, which is just awesome in my opinion. Oh, what do we got down here? We appear to have ho ho ho. We appear to have stuff down here. I'm gonna light it up real quick. Anyway, so there are these huge kelp forests down here. I plan on building and not raising these, but building around this kelp stuff, just because I think it'll be really cool to have an underwater dome with these big kelp forests around. So that's kind of the direction we're going. That will be happening here in the fairly near future. You can see these empty cells start showing up, and that's because my scuba helmet is eating my compressed air, which is I love this scuba helmet, by the way. It's hilarious. It's awesome. I'm keeping it. I'm not even gonna whatever. I'm gonna enchant it and rock and roll with it. I would like to get my hands on. See, just automatically does it. I'm also gonna build an airlock for this guy. I think it's gonna be a temporary. Well, but this isn't gonna be. I gotta figure out a way to like do the in and out of this. Maybe it'll be through the top. I don't know. If you got suggestions, you can give it here. By the way, there's a oyster out that way. I left him alone. I thought it was kind of neat looking. Give me suggestions for how you want to see the entry to this airlock at the top, something else on the sides. I don't know, because I think this isn't going to be right. The corridor is going to go off this way. I don't know. We've got a little bit of design work still to do, but this is the basic concept, basic design of where we're going. Next episode, now that we finally got a home together, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have hopefully built a little bit more. But in addition, we're going to get into Ars Magica. That's what we're going to be focusing on, at least the beginning part of this series, because I wanted to do it last world map and just didn't get a chance to get to it. We got kind of sucked into Blood Magic, and that's very cool. And don't get me wrong, we'll be revisiting Blood Magic because that's a fun and different mod. But I really want to get into Ars Magica too, just because it's something we didn't have a chance to play with, and I'd like to get in there and really kind of explore it start to finish and just see what it's all about. So that's going to be the focus for next time. We're going to set up the whole Ars Magica platform. I'll show you the stuff, the beginning from from getting the levels started all the way up through building the stuff and building our first spell, putting it all together. So that's what's on the table for next time, guys. But until then, Red's out. I'll catch up with you later.